All right, well, here we go into chapter 3, access. And in this chapter, we are going to be working with a variety of different things, most likely, most specifically, I should say, filtering records, creating what are called validation rules, some new queries related to updating and deleting, and using lookups. All right, excuse me. So here we go. I'm going to click on Enable Content up here before I get rolling here. And it says copy and paste, and I should have said this earlier. You need to have the start files for the Chapter 3, Module 3 start file in some sort of a documents folder would be helpful. Don't believe we have any other support files for this particular demo. And again, you'll get that start file either from Google Classroom. You can download it there. If you're able to access the shared folder using the file that I sent out via Google Classroom, where you can access College Place High School files, you can use that. Anyway, that's how you would get those files to this file to start out with. Okay, so here we go. Again, I've got the CMF Vets Mod 3, Module 3 start file here open. Okay. And I'm going to make sure that the Veterinary Vendors file is selected in my navigation pane. I'm going to go up here to Create. Under More Forms, I'm going to select Split Form. Now, a split form is a combination of a datasheet view on the bottom and a form up at the top. And as you move through this, say I've got 5 records here in my vendors area. If I click on Next Record, it pops down to row 2 down in my data sheet, and it goes to ID number 2 in my form. So you have a combination double view here, a form on the top and data sheet view on the bottom, thus the name split form. I'm going to click Save up here. I'm going to call this Veterinary Vendors Split Form. Split Form. And I'm going to close that out. All right, bottom right, page 2. And I guess I wasn't supposed to close that out. Hold on here. Let's go back, open up that form there. It says type a new blank record, which I can do that a bunch of different ways. But if I click down in that next row below Sanchez Supplies, I'm going to start a new record. This is automatically going to be ID number 6 because I have that as an auto number field. The vendor name is Global Pet Supply. If you're not a fast typer, you might want to slow me down here just a little bit here while I type my stuff in here. Boy, you know what? That is really small print. I think that says 1001 Western Way. Even with my reading glasses, that's small. All right, I guess I'm just going to go with that. (1001 Western Way in the city of Dallas, Texas. Zip code of 70001. And that is a feline leukemia vaccine. We come up with all kinds of terms here. All right. With a quantity of 50 and a cost of $9.75. I'm slowing down here a little bit because I'm trying to read that. I've been on my computer all morning, and that's really small print, but I'm going to do my best there. All right, so I'm going to hit Tab, and I'm going to add that record. It also creates a new record up above here in my form, but I just did some data entry and, excuse me, dropped the new record into my table. All right, and let's see here. I'm going to close out the form. All right. Okay, they were assuming that I had the navigation pane closed. I'm just going to reopen that. If you had it closed, you can reopen it too. I'm going to go down here to where the veterinary vendor split form is. I'm going to reopen that again, right click and open. And in this case, I'm going to be searching for a specific record. Now, this is a little hokey because we only have like a couple records. We have 6 records in here. But again, imagine that we had 500 records and we couldn't really eyeball things. I'm going to click on my veterinary supply field over here, and it selects all of that. Then I'm going to go up here to find. And let's say I'm looking for a company that has the word microchips in it. I'm up at right page 2 right now. And I could say find next. And it would go to, in this case, record number 3, and that also shows up in the form piece here. All right, I'm going to hit cancel because I'm done. And in that record, I'm going to go over to my vendor name, and apparently they're not a corporation. They're a limited liability company, which is an LLC. And we know from Word that I can just drag through that word corporation, put in LLC, all right, and hit Tab to record that update in my data table. All right, let's go down to ID number 5 to Sanchez Supplies. And maybe I'm done with Sanchez Supplies. Maybe they've gone out of business or whatever. I'm going to go over there and click on the row selector on the left, like so. And I'm just going to hit delete and say goodbye to that particular. Boy, my volume was up high there. That was interesting. A little bit less. That's really loud. Okay. All right. We're good to go here. I'm going to close the veterinary vendor split form. All right. Navigation pane I still have open actually. Open the veterinary vendors table. That's going to be up here. All right. And then close the navigation pane. So I'm closing that so I have a whole bunch of room up here. Click on the city field for the second record up there, which is Blanding. All right. And then I'm going to go up here to the Home tab. And with that city of Blanding selected, I'm going to go up here to Selection. And I'm going to say equals Blanding. And I've got 2 records. And again, this is a filter, so I'm just changing the records that I can see. All right. And if I want to bring them all back, I can just click on Advanced, clear all filters, and they all come back. So we're going to do some filtering here. On to page 3. And let's go up to City up here. Hit the drop-down arrow next to City. And pointing to the text filters. And here I want to say begins with, I can't quite remember what I'm looking for here, but I know it begins with D. So I'm going to click on text filters, select begins with, and then D. Now we don't have to put an asterisk or a wildcard in here because we already said in the logic that it begins with. So I'm just going to say OK, and there's my 3 records that match that criteria. Go back to Advanced, clear all filters, and we're good to go. Okay. Then under the Advanced menu, we're going to use something called Filter by Form. Here's Filter by Form. This is going to be similar to the Advanced Filter Sort that we did in Microsoft Excel. So in this case, I'm going to put in some criteria of things I'm looking for. I'm looking for everybody with a state of, and I can either type that in or hit the drop-down arrow, Colorado. I'm looking for a quantity greater than 75. So both of those criteria must be, they must work in order for the record to get selected. Click on Toggle Filter up here, and 1 record matches that criteria. Let's go back to Advanced, clear all filters. Let's go to Advanced Filter and Sort. Advanced Filter and Sort. We just used Filter by Form. And this kind of looks like a query. And I've got the veterinary vendors table up there. And kind of like a query, I'm going to drop in vendor name. And I'm going to sort that in ascending order. and then I'm going to drop in the state field. And once again, I just have to say, whatever career field you're going into is going to have its own data, its own things they're reporting on, the decisions you're making, the customers you're tracking. This is a veterinary clinic. Maybe you're not going into veterinary medicine, but again, your field of study will have its own areas of data that you will need to master to really be successful in that business. So I drop in the state field, and I'm looking for a state, in this case of Colorado, CO. Then I'm going to put in the quantity field, and I'm looking for everything with a quantity either greater than 75 or less than, left hand, right, less than 40. Greater than 75, less than 40. So it must be a state of Colorado and then a quantity either greater than 75 or less than 40. And then I'm going to toggle my filter. 2 records are selected. I'm going to close that. Say no. Reopen my navigation pane here. And I'm going to open up the Veterinary Vendors table, right click in Design View. And let's see here. I'm going to go down and find the quantity field. All right, so I'm going to select the quantity field down here. And I want to change from a long integer down in field size. And precision has to do with a bunch of different things. But in this case, I'm using a single precision or a smaller type of number than I would ordinarily need for this purpose. I'm just changing the precision or field size from, what was that before? That was, I think, long integer to single precision. All right, click OK. You can look that up if you're curious. And down in format for general number, I am going to say fixed, which means the decimal place will always be point something. In this case, it'll be a fixed decimal with 2 decimal places. So whether I've got 0.00 or 0.29, it will show every time it will show 2 decimal places. All right. Click Save to save your changes to that table. And let's see here. I want to... So after I make that change to a fixed and 2, I need to go in and maybe change the impact it may have on some other forms, reports, or whatever. So that's over here in the Property Update Options button, which appears after I make that change. And let's see here. I am going to select everywhere the quantity is used. Click on that. And it says, oh, do you want to do this for the Veterinary Vendors split form? Yes, I do. I want to update that. All right. And then I'm going to open up the same table in Datasheet view and says, you want to save the table now? Yes, I do. And there you go. And I'm going to go over here to close out my navigation pane. Go over here to cost, like so, and click on that. And here, it looks like my cost is showing as currency. And we're just pointing out here that my data type is number and my format is currency. Alrighty, my veterinary vendors table is still open. Let's go back to design view here. All right, click on the row selector for the quantity field. And here I'm going to drop a row in. I'm just going to right click on the quantity field and say insert rows. It's going to put a row right above quantity. And I'm going to say this is called product type and tab. And here we're going to say excuse me, we're going to put in what's called a lookup field or a lookup wizard. So we're going to put some validation values into this that someone could choose from. It's kind of a different type of a field. And I'm going to say that I want to type in the values that I want, and next. And here I'm going to type in VAC. I'm going to guess that's for vaccination. MC. SUP. All right. 3 different types of products that these vendors are offering. Supplies, vaccinations, and I'm not sure what MC stands for. If you're a veterinarian, you would probably know that. I'm going to hit next here. And do I want to allow multiple values? No. I could potentially say limit to list, but I'm not going to at this time. I'm just going to say finish. Product type is entered as my lookup field. There you go. And we just created a lookup field. All right. Page 5. I'm going to save the changes. It's asking me to open up the veterinary vendors table and look in design view. I'm already there. I didn't close it out previously. Click in the blank row under cost field. I'm going to call this total amount. And here, my type of field is going to be calculated. All right, okay, calculated. So let's see, my calculation is going to be, and here I'm just going to create basically a formula on the fly. I'm going to double click on quantity. This is kind of similar to the zoom that we did in the last chapter for creating a formula. I'm going to take quantity times cost to create my calculated value. And let's see here, I'm done with that, so I'm going to click OK. All right. Change the format to currency. So we're going to go down here to our properties, and we're going to change the format to currency down below here. Apparently with 2 decimal places. That's fine. Reopen in Datasheet view. It's going to ask me to save. And here you can see that it calculated quantity times cost to come up with total amount for all of those 5 records. Okay. And let's close that out. All right. And let's see, open the appointments table in design view. Right click, design view, appointments table. Okay. And I'm going to go to the treatment number for the data type. And I'm going to change treatment number from short text to Lookup Wizard. I will type in the values that I want. And here I'm going to say for the first value T-1. And for the second value, I have to stop right here because we need to get some cheater text. That's the other file I should have had you upload. Again, you'll find that as the Excel file in Google Classroom. If you're able to access the shared folder on the VPN file that I sent you via Google Classroom, you can do that. You'll have to access that file now. That's called Chapter 3 Cheater Data. You might have to stop this video to catch up with me here. But I'm going to go into this Excel file because I'm going to enter in a whole bunch of different entries for this treatment number. I'm going to go into Cheater Data and open this up. All right. And here's all the various service abbreviations for these descriptions. I'm just going to grab the service abbreviations, and I'm just going to grab A3 with my white cross, A3 through A15. A3 through A15 were the values from T2 to T14. Go ahead and copy those. And don't get ahead of me, please, else you're going to crash badly here. Go back to Access where I was at. Very important that you click right on the asterisk, right on it, so it all lights up that whole entry in blue. Bring in the information you had, paste, Control V. It says you're bringing in 13 records. That's great. Click yes. And now I've got T1 through T14 as all those entries in that particular lookup wizard. Next, it says I want to allow multiple values. Treatment number is the field that I'm adding to. I'm going to click Finish. I'm going to see a warning, and it says yes. So there we go. We're good. Okay. And I'm going to close the table. All right. Save that as appointments. Okay. With the veterinary vendors table selected, I'm going to say Create Query Design. I guess I don't have to have veterinary vendors selected, but I'm going to drop it into my table area and close. And this is going to be a very simple query. It's called an update query, where we're going to populate data in a particular field. And that field is product type. And I want to tell it that I'm doing an update query. So I'm going to go up here and let's say I'm doing an update query. Now this is kind of like playing with matches, because once you run it, you really can't undo it. Basically, I'm saying I'm taking product type, and I want to update product type to VAC, vaccination. And when I run this, again, warning, it's going to change every product type to vaccination. So be careful. I'm going to go ahead and run. And it says you're about to update 5 rows. That sounds great. I'm going to say yes. And move on to page 6. Close my query. I don't want it to save it. All right. And what I just did, if I open up veterinary vendors, here's my 5 vendors, and I just put VAC into all of those items there. I just populated that, which we will change in a moment. I'm going to close that out. And again, let's create a new query, create query design for veterinary vendors. Close. And we just found out that we're losing a vendor. Again, this is kind of hokey because we only have like 5 records. But I'm going to select the vendor ID, the owner ID, I should say. Actually, that's wrong field there. Hold on, timeout. Let's get the right field in there. Let's go up here and create query design. I knew I was off there a little bit. It was owners that I was looking for. We lost one of our pet owners. They moved. Here we go. This makes more sense. I'm going to drop in owner ID into my query, except this time I want to specify it's a delete query. Again, very powerful. Be careful, because whatever you put in here is going to go bye-bye. In this case, I'm saying owner ID 0-2, O-2, capital O. And they've moved, and they're no longer a customer of mine. I want to drop them out of my data table. And so now, because I've selected delete query, anywhere that the owner is equal to O-2 is going to be deleted. So when I run this, it's going to say you're about to delete 1 row from the specified table. And I can't have any backsies here. So I'm going to say, yes, I really do want to do this. All right. And I'm going to close that out. I don't want to save the changes to the query. I'm going to do the same thing with patients. I'm going to create query design patients, add and close. And just to drop the pet for that owner ID out of my data table, I'm going to select owner ID, specify I'm doing a delete query for capital O-2, that particular owner, hit run. Apparently they have 2 pets, so it's going to delete 2 rows from my patients. Again, my patients are animals, okay? Click yes, and I drop those out, and I'm not going to save the query. All right. Okay. Okay, continuing on, I'm going to do what's called an append query. All right. And I have this table up here called additional veterinary vendors. I'm going to say create query design, and I'm going to select that additional veterinary vendors. And by the way, if you didn't notice that before, I just kind of magically dropped it into my database, and you'll see that in your actual start file here. So I'm going to add that to my query, hit close. All right. And let's see here. In design view, select all the fields to include ID, vendor name, I'm just double clicking, street address, city, state, zip, veterinary supply, quantity, cost. Okay. Now I'm going to select that I want to do an append query. Again, another powerful query. Append means I'm going to run the query, and anything that passes the test, I am going to add to an existing table. In this case, I'm going to take the results from additional veterinary vendors, and I'm going to drop it into veterinary vendors as additional records. Okay, so again, a powerful tool. This is going to kind of have the effect of merging two tables together, and I want to base that on the current database. Click OK. And then when I go to run that, it says you're about to append 2 rows. So I'm dropping in 2 additional records into that veterinary vendors field. Yes, I want to do that, and close. All right. Do I want to save changes? No. So what I did is I took these veterinary vendors, these 2 up here that were in this table. Maybe I pulled them in from an Excel file or something like that. And I dropped them in as records 7 and 8 down here at the bottom of this table. Okay. It says I may want to update the product type field. Yes, I do. VAC and VAC. Okay. And now I want to open this. I'm at the bottom left, page 6, just kind of moving right along here. Bottom left, page 6, going to open this up in design view. Okay, and select the zip code field by clicking its row selector. That's over here. All right, I'm going to change the field size of that from 255 to 20. 20, yes, that's as big as it needs to be. Select the vendor name field, and I want to make sure that it gets entered. So down here for required, I'm going to say, yes, I do need a vendor name. Okay. Page 7. In the quantity field, I'm going to do what's called a validation rule. What I'm doing here is I'm putting fences around the data entry. So if somebody tries to put something in that doesn't make sense, then it'll yell at them. It'll give them a message. Now your validation rule and your validation text down here, I'm in the quantity field. These have to be formatted very specifically. Validation rule has to follow a certain syntax or format, if you like. I want my validation rule for quantity to either be greater than 0, in other words, you can't put any negative values in, space and space, very specific. I want it to be less than or equal to 1,000. So if somebody tries to put in a negative number, if they try to put something in greater than 1,000, it's going to yell at them. Make sure you have the right operator there, less than, left hand, less than or equal to 1,000. So the validation rule syntax or format must be specific. All right? And if you click on it and it has a whole bunch of like quotes around it, like it's text, you made a mistake, especially when you're working with numbers. It's telling you, you made a mistake, you need to fix that. All right? My validation text can be anything. I have that in the upper left of page 7. This is going to be the message that pops up if someone tries to put something in other than what I've specified. I'm going to say must be greater than, I'm not going to put decimals in here, must be greater than 0 and at most 1,000. All right, that's the message they're going to get. The validation text can be anything, any kind of wording you want in there that's appropriate, of course, that the user is going to see if they put something in here. Okay, let's go to the product type field. Now we put that validation rule in here. And we're going to put a default value. So in this case, if somebody doesn't enter anything into product type, we're going to say equals for default value VAC for vaccine. And so if they don't put anything in, it'll put that in automatically. It'd be kind of like College Place High School. If they were putting in city for every one of our students, they would put in a default value of College Place. Now, not everybody lives in College Place. They could just skip over that field if the student did and not have to enter anything in. The student lived in something other than College Place, they could enter Walla Walla, Touchy, whatever in place of that. Okay? All right, the validation rule for the product type field is going to be equals VAC or space equals MC space or space equals SUP. Equals VAC or equals MC or equals SUP. Double check that against what you have to make sure it's correct. Now when I click off somewhere, I'm going to end up with quotes around each one of my selections. But if you end up with quotes around a whole bunch of stuff here, or including your equal sign, you've got it really messed up. You didn't use the right format or syntax in your validation rule. It's got to be very specific what it's looking for. And I'm going to put in for a message must be VAC, comma, MC, comma, or SUP. Okay? All right. That's my validation rule, validation text, and it can be anything. It's a message they're going to get if they try to enter in something other than what I've specified. I'm going to hit save, the save button, and I'm going to say yes. I'm not worried about data being lost. I'm going to say no. I'm not going to check existing data, so on. Close the veterinary vendors table. Actually, wait a second. It's asking me in this next one on middle right, page 7, to open this up in Datasheet view, so I'm not going to quite follow their instructions. Close my navigation pane. Okay. It says to go to ID number 2, click on the street address for Gaines Vet Supplies. All right. And it says to go to the left of the, to the right of the N in West Haven, space, and I'm going to put in Boulevard. Do we still have Boulevard instead of streets or avenues? Boulevard, then I'm going to hit Tab. So I'm just updating their street address. Okay. And I want to do a best fit here, so I'm going to put my mouse pointer, also known as autofit. Mouse pointer between street address and city, double click. Didn't think I needed to do that, apparently. All right. And I'm just going to hit save up here. And it says close the veterinary vendors table, open the veterinary vendors table in Datasheet view, and ensure the navigation pane is closed. Well, I'm already there. I'm just going to leave it here. On to number 3. All right. And over here, the product type for Duncan, wait a second, ID number 3 is going to be MC. All right, so Duncan Gaines, M's. It looks like Rodriguez down here is going to be SUP. And I'm going to leave the rest. Global Pet Supply. I'm not going to worry about Follett or Big Mountain because I brought those in. I think we're good to go. We just changed the product type and close. All right. And here we go with the open the appointments table. Okay, I'm going to close that out. Where's my appointments table at? I'm going to go over here to treatment number. All right. Let's see here. I am in the first record, drop down arrow, and it says I've got, click the T10 box to select the additional treatment for the first appointment. So here I can select multiple treatments for each one of my patients, so they're having multiple things done. Okay, and let's see here. What are we doing here? First one's already done for me, T3 and T10. I'm in this table up here in the upper right, page 8. I'm going to my second appointment. It looks like I got T4, T7, T14. Could do some data entry here. Third appointment, I have T2. Going to leave that alone. Fourth appointment, I have T1 and T8. And fifth appointment, I have T4 and T7. There we go. That was pretty easy data entry. That was easy peasy. Let's see, based on the following table, appointments table. And let's see here. Let's go ahead and just save this, close it out. And we're going to open up the Veterinary Vendors in Datasheet view like so. Maybe close my navigation pane. All right. And we can actually include totals in a datasheet. I'm going to click on totals up here. This is similar to what we did actually in Excel way back when. All right. And let's say I want to do a sum on all of my amounts here. So say over here, I want to click on total amount and do a sum. Okay. And where else could I do that? Cost wouldn't make sense because that's a unit cost. I could add up all my quantities if I wanted to, just for laughs, sum. I have 400. All right. And when I'm done with my view here, my totals view, my totals row, I can just click on totals again, and that totals button disappears. All right. My veterinary vendors is still open in Datasheet view. Okay. Close the navigation pane, which I did. And I want to select the entire datasheet. So here's a little triangle up here between vendor name and the first row. The triangle will select all of my records. Okay. And over in my Home tab, in my text formatting group over here, I am going to select Gridlines. And I'm going to select, and you use Gridlines to kind of keep things straight as you go from one record to the next. I'm going to do Gridlines horizontal, which may be a little bit difficult to see. But what's easier if I do this thing called alternate row color. Like, okay, what do you want your alternate row color to be? Well, I'm going to go down here and do, is this what they're calling brown? Standard brown looks like orange to me. Oh well, standard brown. So that way you can see every other row and it kind of goes over there. And you can see my grid lines are kind of in peach, so to speak. All right, on to page 9. And with that data sheet still selected, I could go up here to my font arrow and say, I want to do, I'm going to start typing, Bedoni MT. There, what does that look like? Ooh, interesting. And I could change my font size to 10. All right, that might hurt your eyes. I don't know. Just kind of give your veterinary vendor table a different look. And after we did all that, we're going to go, I don't want to keep that. That hurts my eyes too much. I'm going to hit close. I don't want to save changes to the layout of veterinary vendors table. Nope. All right. Let's reopen my navigation pane. We're going to create a query for the appointments table. So create query design, appointments, drop that in. I want to be able to see my fields here. Okay. I'm going to drop in appointment ID, patient ID, appointment date, and the first treatment number, first one, 1, 2, 3, 4 fields. Okay. And I'm going to run that. And here it has my 5 appointments. I'm not sure what appointment 6 is. It's blank. All right. And it has my 5 dates and my treatment number, okay, on that query. All right. And I'm going to go back to design view. And here I want to specify that I want a different record kicked out on my query for each one of the different types of treatments. So I'm going to go back. I've got patient ID, appointment date, and all that. But then instead of this time on the drop-down arrow, I'm going to click on the second version, which is the detailed version of treatment number. Has the word value there, which you can just barely see the V there, the word value. Okay. Now when I go to run that, it has a record kicked out for every single different type of treatment that my patients are getting. So one just had the multiple selections. This one has them individually. So here you could filter those out or run a report on all the ones coming up if you were looking for a specific type of treatment. Again, depending on what your career field is, it might look different than that. I'm going to hit save up here. I'm going to call this Chapter 3, CH3, Q02, Query 02. All right. And click OK. And I'm going to close that out. I want to go back to my appointments table, though, because this is a good learning opportunity. I've got a phantom record here that somehow I created, which I didn't mean to. And I just want to get rid of it. I'm going to go over here and click over in my row selector. Get learning opportunity here. I'm just going to hit delete. And I'm just going to get rid of that record. I'm not quite sure where that came from. Okay. Easy peasy. Okay, I'm going to open up my appointments and treatments query in design view. That's down here, right click, design view. And there's my appointments table and my treatment cost table. All right, based on treatment number. And it says click the join line and hit delete. Oh, we're changing some sort of join here. Okay. And here it's saying take the treatment number value field in the appointments table and connect it to the treatment number in the treatment cost table. I think this is because we updated these values and we created this multi lookup field, which we needed to update our relationship here. So left click and hold on treatment number value, drag up and point at treatment number, and those two should now be linked. If you noticed before, this arrow was kind of pointing between the two of these. It wasn't quite sure what it was doing. Now it's specifically pointing at the value version of treatment number. Now when I go to run that, it looks like that. Okay. And I'm going to close that out and save it. Yep. Okay. Let's see here. Database tools and relationships. Yes, we have relationships and access. Okay. Let's go do our show table button up here. And I want to drop in the owners table and the patients table. Now, this can get just as complex as you want it with relational databases. We're going to keep this fairly simple, but you may see something in Gmetrics and SAM, whatever, that's way more complex than this. I'm going to hit close here. Well, how are these two tables going to talk to each other? It looks like owner ID. So I'm going to left click on the owner ID in the owners table, left click and hold, drag down and point at the owner's ID in the patients table, let up. It says, oh, we're creating a relationship between these two tables, owners and patients, two tables. Okay. And what do we want to do? We want to create, let's see here. Does it ask us to enforce referential integrity? It does not. I'm going to just say create. And I'm going to close this out. Oh, I can just hit save first. Sorry. Hit save first to save your relationship. It'll yell at you if you try to leave something without saving it. And remember, access saves as you go along. Hit the close button there. All right. Close relationships window. onto our last page. Open the owner's table in Datasheet view. There you go. All right. And notice we have some plus signs over here. So for owner 01, Ted Sabis, if I click the plus sign, this connects all of the different pets that he has, the 4 patients that Ted has. I'm going to undo that. You can see 03 has 1 pet, 04, Samira has 1 pet, and so on. There's somebody with 2 pets. Okay? So you're able to see the connecting data via the relationship we just created as you have this open in Datasheet view. Let's see here. Close this out. It talks about finding duplicate records. These are specific queries under the Query Wizard, Create Query Wizard. So it may ask you to find duplicates. It's a query you do to see to find the duplicates in a particular field. All right. I'm not going to demonstrate this because I don't think it gives me a table to work with. I'm just kind of showing you where it's at. And then the unmatched records is where you have 2 tables coming together, and you can use this to find unmatched records when you're bringing in 2 tables together in a related table, and it'll point out the records that aren't matched up with another one in the corresponding table. So I'm just kind of showing you that's under your new Query Wizard area, and these 2 operations kind of walk you through how to do that using the wizard. Okay, finally, open the owner's table in design view. I'm just going to Datasheet view. I'm middle right, page 10. I'm going to open that up. And it says select the owner's city field. That's over here. And drop down arrow. And the point is I can sort my records at any time. Let's say in case I'm going sort A to Z, like so. And so I can sort that by owner city to make looking for things easier. All right, I'm going to close that out. And looks like I don't want to save that. Okay, last thing, if you want to do a multi-field sort within a data sheet view, in this case I click on owner state as an example, hold down the shift key, click on owner postal code, and if I go up here and click on ascending A to Z or 0 to infinity, it'll first sort by owner state in ascending order, and then it'll sort by owner postal code in ascending order. So that's a quick way to do a multi-table sort, no multi-field sort, excuse me. Close that out. I'm not going to save my changes. And again, when you're done with Access, when you're done with an Access file like your project, and everything that you wanted to save has been saved, and this area is blank, you can just close it out. And away we go. All right, thank you for watching. And I will come up with a next video will be on the practice exam for Access Chapter 3 in SAM. Hope you've enjoyed this.